Thank you, Jana. That was perfect for this week. So let's just take a moment to settle in. Perhaps close your eyes, take a deep breath, and simply acknowledge that presence of spirit. It is everywhere present. It is in each and every one of us, expressing itself. It is the source of our healing, the source of our wisdom, our power. It is all the goodness there is, and it is always available, always ready to flow into our experience as we open to it. And so I am grateful as we come here together in spiritual community to make greater our awareness of spirit and how it expresses itself in our lives. I'm so grateful to be here with all of you. And so we say together, and so it is. I wanted to say a word about Thanksgiving, so the music, of course, was perfect. I didn't really understand the depth and the power of gratitude until I immersed myself in the teachings of Science of Mind. We learned that practicing gratitude was an assurance of good things to come. It is an elevated consciousness, and we learn in Science of Mind that when you elevate your consciousness and you change your thinking, you change your life. In fact, in our particular kind of structured Science of Mind prayer, it has 5 steps, much to the lament of many people trying to learn it at times. And those steps are 1, recognition of spirit. The second one is unification, our unification and identification with spirit. And number 3 is our realization, the realization of whatever it is we are praying for, what we wish to manifest. Number 4 is thankfulness, is gratitude. And number 5 is release. And number 4, that Thanksgiving, once again, it's a statement of gratitude in advance of manifestation. It's all wrapped up in the laws of attraction. So some 10 years ago, I moved to Mexico. And this time of year was always very different. How do you maintain your Thanksgiving traditions, American traditions, in another country? It had its stumbling blocks: lack of family, lack of turkeys, a variety of things. And the biggest stumbling block of all was the year we experienced COVID. And we were advised not to gather with anyone, if that was possible. So carrying the teachings that I had in my heart, I recognized, okay, this was a day to just have quiet contemplation of my gratitude. Maybe go for a walk, which I did, and list the things that I was grateful for. And there are always things to be grateful for, no matter what the condition of our lives, the world, our health, whatever. There is always something about being on this planet that we can put on the list. The moon, the stars, the trees, the plants, the animals, a friend, a good day, the sunshine, the ability to see, to walk, to love, to just be here. So my message today is very simple. It is simply to remember the thanks in Thanksgiving, to perhaps take a moment, take a breath, maybe make a list, and just say thank you. So today we have our affirmation for November, which is also perfect, because if you're going for a walk during your gratitude moment, it's kind of perfect. And it says, it's on this page, the affirmation for November, we'll read it together. Each and every step I take lands on sacred ground. Thank you.
I sat down and whispered to Paul. I gave my thought of the day too early. So my Aunt Claudine, no, just going to sing. I'm just going to really jump right into this song. It's called You Say, and whether the voice of reason or affirmation or positivity in your life comes from inside of you, or what you consider the God force, or someone you really trust, it's really important often to get rid of your internal dialogue telling you how horrible you are and listen to what voices of reason and love say to you.
Thank you, Paul. So nice to have you here. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody at home. So this month we're talking about journeys. So before I talk about what I'm really going to talk about, let's talk about the holidays as a journey and as an arc and how they all fit together. So as Pamela pointed out, we are starting with Thanksgiving this week, and a lot of things are going to happen this week. It is a time to check in with gratitude, but one thing that I'll be talking about next week is that you don't get to discriminate on what you're grateful for. You have to include everything. So chew on that for this week. And then we come to Hanukkah, the 7 days of Hanukkah and Christmas. They are very different observances, but there are a couple things they have in common. They are a time that we look at the miraculous and have the opportunity to be in awe in some way, and not just with those stories, but how do we invite awe and the miraculous into our own lives? And then we finish it off with New Year's, which we celebrate the new, but there's another twist that we talk about here often is to bring something new, you have to give something up. And we usually do the Burning Bowl ceremony the first Sunday of January. And it's going to be a little bit different this year because of the calendar. December 31st is a Sunday, so we will be doing it on New Year's Eve day. Don't get confused with that. So December 31st, on Sunday morning, we'll be doing the Burning Bowl ceremony, which is symbolically, what are you willing to let go? And it's not like, we can make it very trivial. But after this arc of the holiday season, as we revisit many things, don't a lot of things come up in the holidays? Good, bad, and different? After the whole experience of your family and friends and traditions that may have changed, what are you ready now to just release in this journey? So maybe not come in on that Sunday morning and think, gee, what should I let go? Let that be something that's percolating on the back burner this holiday season. What can you celebrate that you are willing now to let go that maybe you've held on to for a very long time? Take the month to do that. And you'll forget about it, but then you'll check in a bit. Oh yeah, John said something about that. As you maybe have an uncomfortable moment this week or month, think, okay, am I ready to give that up? Am I ready to believe that it's an uncomfortable moment? Take a month. I will remind you on December 31st. So journeys. I said our theme is walking on sacred ground. And in other words, the whole takeaway is that every place you walk is sacred ground. And the way to get through something that may be difficult or challenging is to declare where you are sacred ground. That's the first step. Not that you are someplace that is not sacred and you have to get someplace that is to find resolution. You bring the sacred into what you're experiencing right in the moment, as difficult as that may be. And as I was thinking, again, of journeys and walking sacred ground, I was revisiting the concept of journeys, of the hero's journey, the heroine's journey. And many of you may know little bits about that, and it's such a big topic, and we'll just touch a little bit. And of course, growing up in the 60s, there were lots of big hero kind of movies that my brother and sister and I watch, and it's funny how things you like as a little kid do you ever turn on as an adult and go, why were we watching this? So there were all these Hercules movies, and they were going and doing these amazing things, and we thought they were great, and, they come on occasionally and go, oh my God, what did we watch? But anyways, that's kind of the larger, heroic myth, the big stories. But in truth, those are our stories, believe it or not, that showed up in really poorly made movies in the 60s. And so you just kind of pinpoint some of the things. And again, as I was thinking of the hero's journey, one of the most iconic hero journeys of the 20th century was The Wizard of Oz. And you can go into that story in great depth, which I'm not going to today, but as I was thinking of The Wizard of Oz this week, there was one scene that I saw completely differently. You would think after seeing this not silly thing, 30, 40 times in a lifetime, that you think you got it. But that's the great thing about hero journey stories, is that you can revisit a story, and just when you think you've learned anything from it, there's a little twist, and you go, I never saw that before. Did they just put something new in there? But let's just go over that little bit, that little moment. In fact, I brought it up on YouTube, just to say, I am seeing this differently. So as we all know, our heroine Dorothy is going down the yellow brick road. No singing, please. We don't need to go there. And she comes to a fork in a road where she meets the Scarecrow, who claims not to have a brain. So the whole thing is, I thought I knew where I was going. There's now more than one option. What in the world do I do? But here's the realization I had from thinking of this time. So in our journey of life, and our whole life is a hero's journey, it's not just on The Wizard of Oz. On one hand, it doesn't matter which road we take, there are lessons that we have set ourselves up to learn. Now, there might be certain roads and paths that have a little bit more of a sense of ease, a little less bumpy, that we might be a little bit more in tune to our inner intuition, and some where we completely lose it, but you're going to get to the same place eventually. Both roads led to Oz. If she had taken the other road, who knows who she might have met. Maybe that one didn't have flying monkeys, but who knows? But here was the interesting thing, so that she met the Scarecrow at this fork in the road. The person who says he did not have a brain. In other words, how many times do you say, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do? I'm not connected to anything larger than myself. I'm at a complete loss. And how many times did Scarecrow say that he did not have a brain but came out with the smartest solution every time? That he didn't realize that he had what he had. So in our hero's journey, and this one as well, to realize fork in the road is not always a fork in the road. It's just a different experience to the same place. You can't avoid it. I think on a spiritual level, we set ourselves up. So it's not the universe victimizing us. I think we kind of agree on a deep level, this is what I need to learn. This is what I need to experience. And like a law of attraction, we attract those people, those things that we need to have that lesson come up and be experienced. And haven't you noticed that if you, in a lesson moment of your life, if you supposedly take a pass, you can never take a pass really, but let's say you take a pass, it's like a merry-go-round, it comes around again. So there's really no escaping it. So just to do it anyway. So it's interesting how we learn in our own hero's journey. I had a teacher many years ago that said that we learn through two basic ways. The first way, he said, we learn through spiritual and inner insight. In other words, that we recognize our connection to the divine, to the spirit, to the universe, whatever you want to call it, and just through our acknowledging that connection, we get guidance and answers. And that always sounds like, gee, isn't that the nicest way to go? Wouldn't it just be nice to avoid some of the other stuff? But the way this teacher put put it to us in a classroom. It says the other way we learn, which is the way we learn most of the time, is through process, meaning a walk down the yellow brick road. You don't take the helicopter. Feet on the ground, going in a process. And again, the type of process that is, the length of the process that is, what we experience on it depends on at what point do we give in to the insight part of us. How many times do we run down the road and hit our head on a brick wall until we finally are willing to admit that there is what we call a still small voice that is inspiring us. And like I think I have said many times over the years, I've had people being at a loss of what steps to take in the next journey. And just like losing sleep over it, only to tell me months later, you know, Jana, I knew all the time what it was I was supposed to do, but it just sounded too scary, or too weird, or too something. And I finally gave in to that insight, to that voice, and once I did, I felt like I was finally taking the steps down the correct road. So it's always there. So let's look at some aspects of the hero's journey. Because it is your story, it is my story, it is our collective story, and it is a story that we do multiple times. We have different versions going simultaneously. You have the arc of your life from birth till our physical death. That is your larger hero's journey. We have chapters that we have beginnings and endings where we conclude one journey, and before you know it, you're on another one. And even a 24-hour day can be its own mini hero's journey. Haven't you had one of those days at the end, you went like, whoa, that was a ride. We had new flooring done this week. That was a journey, let me tell you. When you see everything in your house ripped up and new stuff put down, it was great. But, you know, just like, it's so disturbing psychologically, even just to see your house pulled up. That's a journey of its own. So let's look how this goes. And the point of this is to be more conscious to it. That we have a tendency to think that life happens to us almost in a victimizing sort of way, like, oh my God, how did that happen? As opposed to seeing that things come to us for a response to learn and to elevate in consciousness and in our vibration, that we can experience something even better as we let it go. So how do these journeys start? How do they start in those silly movies that my brother and sister and I used to watch? So you seemingly are minding your own business, you know, washing the dishes or your car or something, and it comes to your attention that something is happening or new is taking place, and you don't know quite how to make sense of it. In the hero's journey, they refer to this as the call. Something is happening. So these show up in many different ways. You hear that a close relative on the other side of the world or the coast is experiencing a really life-threatening health problem and they need help. Is it yours to tend to? Or it may come from within, that you start getting this just, I call it, you know, instead of the small voice, that itchy small voice. So, you know, maybe it's time for a change. Maybe it's time to change careers. Maybe it's time to actually move across the country or to somewhere else in the globe. And you start getting that in a sense of call of like, what if? Which is exciting, or the thing that happens that's not so exciting that's saying, this might be yours to do. It's funny how those are those two categories. We get excited about the what if, and maybe even a sense of heaviness like, oh, I can't believe this situation is happening. And it could be something like a diagnosis for you that is not favorable, that you're thinking, how do I even begin to digest this? How do I even need to put my brain around this or my consciousness around? So we have those that are exciting and those are like, how did this happen? They're both a call to something greater. But here at this first step, there's a little bit of discernment that we have to do. We have to come to the conclusion, is this truly from that connection of the universe that's saying, yes, do this, or consider this difficult thing? Or is it just, I don't know, my ego having fun? Haven't we all had that? Someone who I knew several years ago was having some very deep things that they were working on with going through counseling and all this, but somehow they kept thinking that if they only moved to a new city, it would be different. And this person moved about every year and a half to a completely, not just say within Idaho, like let's go to New York now, let's go to New Orleans now, let's try Canada. And always there was this idea that if you, in a sense, if you only rearrange the furniture, that would be the call. And like they'd get to Toronto and like all those things that they were having counseling with would change because the scenery had changed. So that's really a first thing before any action happens. Am I trying to just kid myself? Am I an avoidant saying, yes, I've got the call to move to wherever? Or is it something that's really pushing you? Sometimes a geographic change is up for us all. Very few of us here grew up here, right? At some point there was like, let's go to that strange place I hear about, I don't know why, and we did. So there was that pull, and I think the fact that we're still here, it was probably not something from our ego, it was from something saying, it wasn't so much about Sun Valley, there was like, there is something here, a whole package that is calling you. So that's a big thing of discernment. Is this calling a calling, or is it me just having hot hair in my head? And so once you get clear with that, as in the movies, it's time to go down the yellow brick road. And what happens there? So many different things happen, but it's often when you start and you think, yeah, this is the thing I need to learn, or these are the challenges I need to take on and learn how to resolve, usually the thing that you think is the thing is not the thing. Does that make any sense? That it's almost like you have a warm-up kind of thing. And when you look at the typical journeys, the hero's journeys, the first few steps are very similar yet different. It says you will have to, one, slay a series of dragons, and the other thing is to find a teacher who will mentor you. But here's something that's interesting. Your dragons are often your teachers, and your teachers are often your dragons. Don't you have this thing? I hear people saying, oh, I need to find the teacher for me. And they've traveled the world. And, if I only find the teacher and like sit at his or her, pillow, prayer cushion, it will just open myself up to this amazing thing. And no one's come back with that actually happening that way. What I have found is what they find, what they think is the teacher, they're saying, well, good job, but here's some really hard things to do now. There's no slacking off. And again, the challenges that we think are the dragons that, boy, if I just get through these dragons, if I slay the dragon, I get through these series of things, the journey will be over. But that's just practice. So I was trying to think this morning, what are some of the silly things in those Hercules movies they used to do at this stage? Our favorite always were the animated skeletons with swords. I don't know, we loved that. The other one was the statues that were like the Statue of Liberty that came to life and they were going to step on you or something. So there was a way to get around the skeletons and the big statues. And you thought as a kid, the movie's over. They figured it out. They conquered it up. But it just kind of got them going for the real thing. So the journey will take as long as it takes. You'll have some trials of practice as you go down the road. But eventually you get to the heart of the matter. To ask yourself, what is it that I really need to learn here? It may involve doing something physical. We live in the world of physicality. There are things that we have to do often to reveal healing or growth. But usually it has something to do with at a much deeper level. Again, the holidays are a good time to look at this. It's just funny hearing Jana's story and about the Kool-Aid. Can't we all think of some really amazing, wonderful stories and some stories that just broke our heart as we grew up and as adults at the holidays? Don't you? To me, they're like little snapshots of like, I wish I could relive that, and others, God, I hope we never have to do that again. Don't we all have that? And even now, this is a good time to not only take a snapshot of, let's say, the ghosts of Christmas past, of way back, it's also a time to take inventory of how life has changed. Speed back to last Thanksgiving. Your life may not be that much different. But there are some holidays that it is very different. We have lost a beloved family member, and we're still in grief for that. Or someone's life has changed to the point that they and we as their supporters don't know where to turn. Or we might have times of celebration compared to last week, like we got through what we had to get through to make it this year, and it truly is a celebration. Or maybe we have a new member of the family, either a birth or a new partner or a marriage that happened that you come together for the first time, and like, this is amazing. So it's a great time to take inventory, and through this to think, what can I now celebrate and embrace? But in the theme of a hero's journey, what is coming to my attention, especially at this time that can actually be stressful? How does it remind me of what must I give up now on the journey and what must I learn? What is one of the main points of my current hero's journey that is showing up through my aunt who brings the Kool-Aid, or grandma who we just love like life itself? What is it that will, if I embrace and embody, will make a significant shift in my life? And that answer, if you start asking that question now, it will show up through the holidays in some interesting way. It'll show up through a memory of a loved one that you dearly loved. It may show up through a person that you have tried to love but have had difficulty. Like I said, our dragons are often our biggest teachers. I think the arc of the holidays is perfectly devised to put us in touch with our raw points, that which need to be healed, and also that which need to be celebrated. There is great potential to learn something amazing this year if you open up to that. And so the hero's journey is on its way to winding down when you come to that realization. You've made peace with something, or you've greatly celebrated something new that has come in. And as this story goes, you then, in a sense, go home. But home's not the same anymore. It's not the same as when you left, because you are different now. Have you ever noticed that when you have a true transformation within yourself, and it might be, I know we like to be self-deprecating. No, I've never had major transformations. Yes, you have. You've had many of them, and you've had minor ones. But have you noticed when you have, maybe you have gone on a trip somewhere else, and maybe it was a vacation, but something about it changed you in spite of yourself. You didn't think, I'm going on a journey of learning. You just happened to do it anyway. And you come back and you are different. And people react to you differently in interesting ways. It's not like you came back and announced, I'm different. You just are. And maybe someone you know who just kind of knew that sore spot, like right where to go there, maybe that sore spot's not there anymore. And they're a little confused when the same old story doesn't work. So you're bringing back your new self, And it could be just so subtle. We take these stories so literally, like, Hercules, I'm coming back with this. It's like, no, often it's subtle. It's quiet. It's very sacred and wonderful and in a large or small way, and people in your life react differently to you. In the hero's journey mythology, it says that you bring back an elixir of truth. It almost makes me sound like, yes, I stand out in the corner. You want some? You want some? It's not about that. It's not about saying, gee, I found a great elixir of truth in the Bahamas. It's just who you are in a different form that shows up differently, which leads to everyone and everything around you reacting to you differently. And you have what they say is the new normal. And then we start the journey again. I think you get a little bit of time off, but you start the journey again. So I think it'd be interesting for us to think of the holidays this year as a hero's journey. Are you excited about it? Are you dreading it on some level? Has something significantly changed from last year that you're not even sure how you feel about it yet? And when you sit at whatever table you sit this Thursday, you'll notice that difference and you'll say, well, this is amazing. Or, this doesn't feel good. Or, I really don't know yet. Be with that. That is the start of a whole nother journey. So, have an amazing time this week. Elevate in consciousness. Love those you love, and learn to love those that you may not. That's what the season is about. So let's just take this within. And first of all, give thanks. And know that the rules of this is that you have to be thankful for everything. There's no picking and choosing. There's no good list and bad list. There's only one list. Let us embrace the totality of our lives and the experience and the lessons that they have to teach us. And let us be grateful. Let us open our hearts and mind to greater learning and deeper learning in this holiday season. Let us take our first steps in this mini hero's journey of these next few weeks and celebrate all that can happen and take place. So in this Thanksgiving, we simply let this idea, this concept, this intention, we release it, we let go. In a sense, we release our attachment to how it's supposed to show up or how it's supposed to turn out. We know that our connection to Spirit knows. And so in this release, again, we give thanks, knowing that as we truly release something, it returns to us in perfection. And so it is.